Alright guys, we're back, finally, with episode number 24 of the F1 2013 career mode here for the Spanish Grand Prix. Now, I apologise for the long break between episodes, but I can assure you that career mode is well and truly back on my radar. And yeah, here we are for the Spanish Grand Prix. It's
We don't need to push too hard in this session. We should have the pace to qualify easily.
Yeah, exactly as the engineer said. I think we will have enough pace to do well around this track. It's just the tyre wear that I'm worried about for this weekend, as this track is probably one of the worst on the entire calendar for tyre wear. So as we head into Friday practice here, this is just the sole highlight from the Friday practice session, and nothing much else really happened apart from this moment here. Almost got poo everywhere, got tangled up on top of the curb, and almost spun into the infield and then back in to the outfield. So lucky to get away without any damage there, and thankfully I was able to carry on that session and managed to get on top of the table. So pretty happy with that. On the prime tyres, of course, over a second faster than the rest of the field, so that's pretty impressive. But here we are in qualifying 1. I've skipped right to the end of the session. I've waited for the track to evolve and be at its quickest point before I put on a set of prime tyres, because I was actually really worried this weekend. I was scared that I'd have to do maybe a 4-stop around this race, because I remember in the first season of career mode that I really struggled around this track for tyre wear, and I pretty much had to just limp the car around the track at the back end of stints. So I just want to play it safe here in qualifying. I want to use as few tyre sets as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a set of prime tyres through Q1 and Q2 hopefully, and then just get away with using one more set in Q3. So first session of qualifying went pretty well, managed to top the tables, and now this is Q2, coming up to finish my first lap on this first set of tyres, and we managed to top the table again, and I think that might just be enough to get us into Q3. We'll have a look, and yes it is, because it actually rained about midway through the session and the rest of the AI cars couldn't get a lap time in. So the first 2 practice sessions I've managed to top the table with one set of tyres, so I'm pretty happy with that. And of course, now that it's raining, I think it might actually be raining in Q3, so that's going to be pretty tricky on the qualifying table, because I'm not really good in the rain. It's going to be an actual battle to get the car around the track, so we'll see how we go. But I'm not too confident when all the grip goes out the window, so we'll see how we go. This is qualifying 3 now. It's full wet conditions, and I don't see the track getting any faster, so there's pretty much all I have to do now is just put in as many laps as possible, try and get comfortable with the conditions, and see where we end up at the end of the session. But yeah, still struggling at the moment. I'm in 10th place. I've got the slowest time of anyone. I think I'm like 2 or 3 seconds slower than everyone, and that's pretty understandable considering all the mistakes I'm making on pretty much all of my laps here. So still struggling, still at the bottom of the table. I've improved by about 5/10 there, but I'm still like 2 seconds off of Hulkenberg's time, so that's pretty disappointing. And now at the end of the session, I put on a brand new set of wet tyres. I put 3 laps of fuel on the car, and the new tyres must have gave me just a little bit of a grip boost. I managed to find a little bit more speed, I suppose. But more importantly, I've just taken it easy a little bit on this lap. I'm just trying not to make any mistakes, and I'll see where I end up at the end of this lap. So the end of the session, the checkered flag has dropped. So whatever time I do now, I have to live with for the rest of the weekend. But since it's wet actually in Q3, we'll probably have a brand new set of tyres to use in the race. If it's dry, of course. If it's wet conditions or full wet conditions, I've already used 2 sets of wets, so that's a little bit alarming. I'm not too sure if I could get through a whole weekend on wet tyres, or a whole race, sorry, in a 100% race. That's going to be very interesting. But getting back to this qualifying lap, it seems to have been fairly stable so far, apart from that last corner there. But closing up the lap, let's see, coming up across the line, where are we going to end up this weekend? On the front row.
Second place on the grid. Brilliant. That puts us in a really good position for the race.
Yep, so we managed to jag a front row position there on the grid. So we're looking good for the race. That's probably my best qualifying position this season. Yes, I think it is. So, yeah, we're looking forward to a good race tomorrow. So wish us luck. Alright, so here we are on the grid of the Spanish Grand Prix. We've got the favourite, Fernando Alonso, starting from pole position. He's going to be pretty tough to beat in this race, especially if that Ferrari can get off to a fantastic start. And away we go. Looks like Fernando has got off to a brilliant start there, and the two Mercedes drivers are going to be battling side by side coming into turn 1. But it looks like the slipstream is pretty powerful for me, and I'm going to go around the outside of Alonso there. And it looks like we've got a clean run into the lead. So now all I got to do is focus on trying to build a gap over the rest of the field. I think this is actually the first time in my entire career mode that I've actually led a race on the first lap. So this is going to be pretty interesting. It's going to be a new challenge. However, it's going to be very tough to maintain this first position. As I said before, the tyre wear is really tough around this circuit. And on lap 13, we're starting to see evidence of that, and the tyres are starting to go off the cliff just a little bit. On the strategy from my engineer, he told me to stay out until lap 15, and we've just managed to do that. The tyres are absolutely brick red at the moment, and I'm actually still pulling out a little bit of a lead over Sebastian Vettel behind. But look at that, I actually stay out for one more lap because I'm actually making time on the cars behind, which is really weird. I didn't expect to be faster than the rest of the field, especially on a high tyre wear track like Spain. So what I'm trying to do now is I'm just trying to sort of give myself an advantage later on in the race by having fresher tyres for the rest of the race. So as the rest of the field pits now for a set of prime tyres, I'd assume I'm going to come in on this lap and have fresher tyres for pretty much the rest of the race, and that's going to give me a little bit of strategy as I head into the pits now. And you know, I had a 5-second lead over Vettel, so I can afford to do that extra lap and allow him to cut into that lead a little bit. As long as he doesn't pass me after this pit stop phase is done, then we would have gained a little bit of a strategy advantage over Vettel if we can get in front of him. The pit stop is 3.2 seconds, it's pretty good. And coming out of the pits now, we'll just see if this strategy call will work out. We're going to use a little bit of KERS. No KERS on exit, but it looks like we might just rejoin in front of Vettel. So we lost about 4.5 seconds just by doing that extra lap. So it just proves how valuable the undercut is. However, Vettel is probably going to be struggling later on in the race with older tyres. So here we are on lap 19. I've actually locked up the inside front there, and that's allowed Kimi Räikkönen now, who's got up into second. He's right on the attack, and he wants to take this race win away from me. So coming on to lap 20 now, I think Kimi's got the DRS. He's going to fly past here into turn 1, and he's got the lead there. So very interesting scenes here about a third way into this race, and Kimi is absolutely flying. He came from a long way back to catch Vettel, and now he's actually bolting right now, and he's actually getting away from me. I'm going to have to put it up into fast and burn a little bit of fuel here just to stay with Kimi, because he's absolutely flying at this stage of the race. And as you can see, I'm trying to push as hard as possible, but I just can't stay with him. I'm just so lucky that I've got the DRS at the moment, just so I can stay with him at the moment. But now, lap 21, a back marker holds him up just a little bit, and that allows me to get back into the DRS zone. But it's only going to be a matter of time before Kimi breaks out of the DRS 1 second window and bolts away with this race. But once again, another back marker is holding Kimi up a treat. I've slammed into the back of him. It's Charles Peake this time who's holding out Kimi, and I think he's going to sneak up the inside too. I'm going to try and follow him through, and there we go. Distraction out of the way. So now I can focus on getting past Kimi. I'm going to have to get the move done very quickly if I want to beat him with a shot of winning this race, because Kimi is proving to be very, very quick in this race. He's come from like third and a couple seconds back down the road to now be leading this race, and I think if I don't get past him soon, he's going to bolt away. And yes, he is. He's trying to break out of that 1 second window, but I have a theory that the dirty air effect around this track is very strong, and it's very hard to stay behind a car for too long. So I saw evidence of it with Vettel and to some degree with Kimi. As soon as Kimi got in front of me, he was absolutely flying, and as you can see, he's bolting away now. He's out of the DRS zone now, and unfortunately, I think... Ooh. light rain in 10 minutes. So hopefully the weather changes might be able to spark some kind of pace from myself. If it does rain, hopefully I'm a little bit faster than Kimi in the wet. But I'm going to go for a bit of a bold strategy here. Apparently there's 10 minutes until the rain starts falling, but it's going to take a long time for it to actually get wet. So I'm going to go for a set of option tyres and see if I can sort of catch up Kimi, because by the time the rain does start falling, his tyres are going to be falling off the cliff. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can stretch out his tyres to last the distance before it starts raining. It's going to be line ball for the rest of the AI cars, and getting past Alonso here for P3, and then that's Vettel for P2 right there. So effectively I'm not going to lose too much position here by doing this strategy. Here's a replay of the move on Alonso. Very nice there through the final chicane. It's, next up is Vettel on lap 31. So as soon as I pass Vettel, I will have gained the positions back that I lost by doing the extra pit stop. So you know, it's a bit of a strategy risk. But, oh my god, Kimi is still going faster, despite me being on fresher tyres. I don't know how many laps Kimi's been on this set of tyres, but he's absolutely flying right now, and I'm going to have to fly past Vettel as soon as possible and start catching him, because Kimi's pace right now is just ridiculous. Especially when you think about how long Kimi has been on that set of prime tyres for. He was just continuing to get faster and faster and faster. And so now on lap 36... I believe that's actually Kimi coming out of the pit lane now, and I think he's put on a new set of intermediate tyres. Or is it dry tyres? He's actually picked the worst time to come in for a new set of tyres, because the rain is starting to fall now, and he's actually come in for a set of dry tyres. We're going to go up the inside. We're going to take the lead back off Kimi. So our strategy risk there has paid off, and we've got the lead back, and that's crucial as we come into this new phase of the race. We've pretty much hit the reset button, because the rain could really throw in some new players into the game. So depending on what people did with their setup, we might see some new leaders coming into this. Me and Kimi might actually be terrible in the rain. We just don't know yet. We're going to have to wait and see. But on lap 40, the conditions are getting worse. It's starting to affect our grip now by the detriment of about 1 or 2 seconds a lap. And Kimi's had enough. He's coming in for a new set of intermediate tyres. I'm going to stay out for one more lap. I wasn't anticipating Kimi to come in yet. I thought it was actually going to be another lap. So unfortunately I've missed a trick there. And now this extra lap is really starting to hurt me lap time wise. And I think we're going to have to go for another bold strategy, guys. I'm going to stay out until Kimi catches me, and then I'm going to put on a set of wet tyres. Yes, I said it. I'm going to stay out on this wet track until the conditions get so bad that I need to put on wet tyres. Hopefully the track continues to get worse. Kimi has already caught me after a lap and a half, and I think I'm going to have to use up a lot of curves just to stay in front of Kimi here, and I'm going to have to be really, really careful on this last lap here, because the conditions are absolutely treacherous right now. I'm going to have to crawl, put it in lean, do everything that I can to keep this car in a straight line without losing position to Kimi. It's going to be so tough. He's got so much more grip than me right now. They're coming through here. I've locked up. There's just not enough grip in the tyres left, and I've gone off into the gravel. The strategy has not worked out. Unfortunately, we bit the bullet one too many times, and now we're going to have to pay the price with it now. So I'm just going to have to limp it back to the pits, be as careful as possible, and that's one of the Toro Rossos just turns in front of me, and I've got a penalty from that. That's ridiculous. Look at the replay here. I'm holding my line. I think that's Jean-Eric Verne comes across me and takes himself out of the race pretty much, and I get the penalty. So this race is pretty much done and dusted if you were expecting a win from this race. Unfortunately, we're going to lose some points to Vettel in this race as well. Coming in for our drive-through penalty now. And, are we going to go for a set of new tyres? Oh, thank God. I couldn't imagine staying out for another lap trying to do that drive-through without putting on a set of wet tyres. So, you know, it might not actually be that bad. We've got to come in for our drive-through yet. But if it does get wet, even more wet, we might actually gain a pit stop on the rest of the field. So we might rejoin in a similar position, but coming through the first corner, that's a little bit alarming. It tells me that there's not enough grip in the track yet, or the track isn't wet enough for the wet tyres to sort of optimize with the conditions. So that's Felipe Massa flying up my inside for P6. I've got my teammate Rosberg right behind me. I sort of don't want to hold him up, otherwise I might cost him points in the race. I've sort of lost the back end there. There's just not enough grip in these tyres to maintain a decent pace. And unfortunately, guys, I think I might actually have to come in again. So the strategy has well and truly screwed me over. But you know, it's no fault of the game really. It's just my fault picking the wrong tyres at the wrong time. So the game is allowing me once again to change my tyres. I think on the very next lap I'm going to have to come in to serve this drive-through, otherwise I will be disqualified. I think you only get about 3 laps to serve your drive-through before the stewards have had enough, and we rejoin in 17th place. So it's going to be a tough old race from here, trying to come through the field. As I've said many times across this career mode, I'm not really confident in my wet pace. I might have to pray for the track to dry out again, and maybe I can come through the field again. But we'll wait and see. I might actually be pretty decent in this race as I rejoin in front of Kimi Räikkönen there. So in just a space of a couple laps, I've gone from leading the race to getting laps. So that's a pretty embarrassing display from myself. I apologise for that, but hopefully we can bounce back strong in Monaco. But the race isn't over yet. We've still got a long way to go in this race. About a third left, so hopefully we can continue to move forward. We'll just stay with Kimi Räikkönen here, and maybe he can help propel us towards the midfield in this race. But coming into turn 1, we're actually going to pass Kimi now, and his pace in the wet doesn't seem to be as quick relative to his dry pace. So now I'm pulling away from Kimi. I've actually gapped him by a little bit, and now I think that's Daniel Ricciardo right in front of me, so we're going to fly past him as well. So now we're starting to make some inroads on the rest of the field. It's good to see that we're actually moving forward now and coming through to the third sector. We've got a cinematic shot of us passing Pastor Maldonado around the outside there, so good to see. We're now up into 12th place, and a few cars have actually come in for a new set of intermediate tyres, which is pretty interesting. It tells me that they're actually struggling for tyre wear for once, which is nice to see, but it's only going to be a matter of time before I come in for a set of dry tyres. The track is actually drying out quite a bit, and thanks to me stuffing up the strategy and taking a while to put on this set of intermediate tyres, it's actually allowed me to stay out on the set of tyres for quite a long time. As I said before, the rest of the AI cars, or a few of them, have actually come in for a second set of intermediates, and that's going to cost them later on down the field, down the road, sorry, because the track is drying and they're going to have to come in again for a set of dry tyres. So this should be our final pit stop of the day, when we exclude any kind of stupid incidents or weather playing a factor. So our final pit stop is 3.2 seconds. Once again, Mercedes is being very consistent with their pit stops, looking after me there. And rejoining onto the track, we've got Pastor Maldonado right behind us, so we're going to have to get out in front of him, hopefully. It's going to be pretty close. I think he's still on intermediate tyres, and I might actually be the first in the field to put on a set of dry tyres. So hopefully there is enough grip in this track. We've certainly seen through the first sector that there's enough grip, and now in lap 60 we've gone purple, so that just confirms that we've made the right strategy call for the first time in this race, which is nice to see. But coming through to turn 1, that might actually be a points paying position right in front of us, and that is in the form of Sergio Perez in that McLaren, which seems to be going very well this season, and even last season, to be honest, as I think the McLaren is just a little bit OP. But we go up the inside of Sergio there, and he leaves us just enough room to squeeze up there, and we get up into the points now. So next up is Adrian Sutil, who wasn't too far down the road, so it was pretty easy to catch him. And at this phase of the race, we're looking very good and very quick, which is, as I said before, very nice to see. So there we go, P9. I think the car ahead, who was Hulkenberg, was a long way up the road, so unfortunately I wasn't able to catch him. But when you consider how far down the field we were lapped at one stage. We managed to come back through the field and get some nice solid points today.
2 points. Great job.
So there you have it, guys. That's been the Spanish Grand Prix for Season 2 of F1 2013 Career Mode. Sebastian Vettel takes out this race win from Fernando Alonso and Kimi Raikkonen, who showed a lot of pace in this race, but unfortunately for him, wasn't quick enough to maintain the lead in the wet conditions. In the Drivers' Championship, Sebastian Vettel extends his lead over Fernando Alonso, and myself in third, languishing about 40 points behind. So it's going to be a tough old race to the championship from here. In the Constructors, Infinity Red Bull Racing are still topping the team's championship with Ferrari in second and Mercedes down in third. So this phase of the championship, Mercedes isn't looking too good, but as we head into the second half of the championship, I think the Mercedes will be well suited to most of the tracks on the calendar. So that's been the Spanish Grand Prix. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Until the next race in Monaco, I'll see you guys next time.
Pull my heart out of my chest, train my mind so I forget. Sink your teeth into my bones, dig me out, then fill the hole. Tear me apart.